Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. A lot of you have probably been waiting for this film. One of the great horror films, kind of the mother or fatherland, fits more like it, being a German production by Robert Vine, 1919. Now, why do I call this film sort of the father of the horror film? There were horror films that were made before this, obviously. However, this film seemed to capture the imagination and capture a lot of the imagery and iconography of the genre quite well. It has Werner Krauss as a mad scientist. He's Dr. Caligari, who uses a subservient being to do his evil bidding, to commit murders and things like that. He happens to be Cesare, who's played by Conrad Veidt, who is a somnambulist. Well, a somnambulist, man who sleeps in a coffin. He's sort of the precursor of the zombie. Remember, we had the zombie? We looked up the zombie at one time, figured out what that was all about. But the mad scientist who uses some kind of robotic creature to do his bidding. Likewise, we have Lil Dagover as Jane, who plays the damsel in distress, who the monster, somnambulist, zombie, Conrad Veidt, and Werner Krauss as the mad scientist have sort of a hankering over. They want her, okay, and capture her, try to take her. Likewise, you can see a lot of films that do really sort of echo this film. Obviously, there are many films that echo this film. A couple come to mind very quickly. Frankenstein, the James Whale Frankenstein, has scenes that look like they were patterned after Caligari. Particularly the scene where the Frankenstein monster kidnaps Frankenstein's wife, carries her off. Very Caligari-like. Likewise, another film, Murders of the Rue Morgue, that was done by Robert Florey in Universal. Very much captures the same rooftop horror that you find in Caligari. Now, Dr. Caligari was a film that comes out of a certain tradition. We call it German Expressionism. Now, I don't want to bend your ear forever on it because this is not an academic talk right here. But German Expressionism was a form that had a particular kind of look and a certain kind of thematic core to it. The look of these films were dark, brooding, strange angles, bizarre sets. Likewise, the plots dealt with themes of madness, themes of insanity, themes of criminality. Now, this set of imagery and set of iconography and set of themes found its currency in other places. The German Expressionist feel, and I'm not going to get into that debate whether you're a strict German Expressionist definer who sees that there were just a few, like Barry Salt, who sees that there's just a few films that fit into that, or if you're going to open it up to a lot more films that were made in from Caligari on into the later 20s, like Bordwell and Thompson and Eisner, folks like that. See a lot of other films that do not necessarily fit into the category. And of course, I said I wasn't going to get into it, and I sort of did. But there were a number of places that sort of touched base and gathered energy from the German Expressionist look and feel and theme. Universal horror films of the 30s, obviously. I think Ulmer's Black Cat also captures well the German Expressionist look. Matter of fact, a lot of German filmmakers fleeing Germany in the wake of Hitler's rise to power came to the United States, and they brought with them some of these stylistic and thematic threads. And these guys were making films, and a lot of that look will seep into westerns, seep into some musicals even, some of the comedies. But it also will seep into a particular kind of take on the thriller, actioneer, detective film, something we call film noir, growing largely in the mid-40s and becoming sort of at its darkest in the 50s with the Wells take on these things like Touch of Evil and so on. And then the son of noir things that we find later with the rise of Chinatown, films like that in the 70s where noir sort of rose. But these films also have that look of darkness, sinisterness, of odd angles, of high contrast and low-key light. And a lot of use of frame stories where we're told in narration from a particular individual's perspective of what has happened. And then also that narrator who tells us things. Do we trust them or not? Did they tell us the real thing? Now that's the key in Caligari. Who is insane? Whoa, what's going on in here? Who's insane and who's not? Do we trust the narrator? Is the narrator always to be trusted? That's always an issue when you get down to narration in film. Do we always think that what they say is an accurate reflection of what happened, or are they themselves wacky? Well, Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, I have just scratched the surface of a very important film. If you have other thoughts that you'd like to share with me about the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, feel free to do so. The email is always there for you. Give me a ring. Well, as you can see, somebody wants me to vacate these premises. The lights were starting to flash. It's closing time, like they say in the Leonard Cohen song. Well, there it is again. Okay. Well, have fun with this film. I think you will. See you later. As always, love to be with you. Roll 'em, Smokey.